Legend of Total War here, and today we've got another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering the Fey Enchantress. Now the Fey Enchantress, in my opinion, has one of the most challenging campaigns, to begin with, out of any Lord in Total War Warhammer 3. Her starting enemy is nothing, but in the subsequent turns, you can very quickly find yourself completely overwhelmed. The starting settlement is Castle Carcassonne, which is the same start location she's always had. She used to start off with Brionne, but that's been given over to the Red Cloud. You can very easily get that back. Now, the reason why her campaign has become increasingly difficult, I think, is because she has 3 dangerous legendary lords right on her doorstep very early on, and some of them can be extremely frustrating to deal with. So, for example, you've got Grom the Paunch over here in the north. That's the first one you need to deal with. You're not going to have a choice in this matter. Grom the Paunch is going to deal with Aquitaine very quickly, and the more you dilly-dally around him just gives him more time to set up. So it's highly advisable that you take the fight to Grom the Paunch and capture Massif Orcal while he's busy over here. Capturing his base of operations will make it so that it'll be more difficult for Grom to reinforce his position, because he can sometimes globally recruit very quickly, and stop him from recruiting a second army. Now, playing as Bretonnia, you have a limited economy in terms of how many units you can recruit. And if you don't move quickly against Grom the Paunch, you'll find that you won't really be able to field a full stack without going over your peasant economy, which some people don't mind doing, but you will hurt your economy because farms are the best economy building to build. I don't advise going with industry. One way to compensate yourself from that, because you're not going to be able to recruit knights, right? They are recruitable at tier 2, but it's just going to take a short amount of time to do it with it. Like 3 turns you might think isn't very long, but that's the extent of time that you've got to deal with Grom the Paunch. You're just not going to have that much time. But one thing that you can do to sort of circumvent the peasant limit is to recruit lords to surround the Fey Enchantress, because they're not going to use up peasant economy and you don't have supply lines. And because the Fey Enchantress is a life wizard, she is able to provide additional benefits to them by healing them across multiple battles. So having the Fey Enchantress with 3 other Bretonnian lords is a way to really strengthen your army if you can't really justify getting it to full stack status. So yeah, if you take out Massif Orcal quickly, you might be able to catch Grom the Paunch before he has managed to become a full stack, which is definitely ideal. Now, beating Grom the Paunch multiple times with multiple different lords is very valuable, because it'll provide a diplomatic relation boost with the High Elves, and that's going to be very valuable because they're your first real ally and they're very reliable trade partners. So even though you've got some overseas diplomacy technology here which will provide diplomatic relations, having extra definitely doesn't hurt. It'll make it easier to get military alliances if that is what you want. But I highly advise taking Grom the Paunch out very quickly. Just get the trade a few times and then just let him die. After that, you're going to have to deal with Morgur. This isn't really going to be a choice. Morgur is going to come for you one way or another, because he deals with Estalia very quickly. And one thing that Morgur sometimes does, not always, but he builds a Herdstone building which causes plagues in your territory. That can be extremely frustrating because there's not really any way to protect against that. The only way to deal with it is to get rid of Morgur. Now, the problem here is that he'll occupy this settlement here, which means you're not going to have settlements to sort of hop around to, because Bilbali is probably going to be blown up by the time you get there. So you have to move an encamp stand, which can be very frustrating dealing with Morgur, because if you don't go into encamp stands, he'll ambush you. So very dangerous enemy to deal with. Then you've also got Ikitclaw, who will also declare war on you very early on. This is why you need to be very aggressive in this particular campaign. You've got to try and take out these threats as quickly as possible, because if all 3 are fighting you at the same time, you can very easily become overwhelmed. You have a few potential friends in the area, namely Talcin, but you can't rely on them very much. But yeah, with Skaven armies jumping in over here, and with Beastmen plagues, and with Greenskin incursions, your campaign could very quickly come to an end, so you've got to be aggressive. But apart from that, this is actually my favorite of the Bretonnian campaigns, because even though I think the start position is the most challenging out of the Bretonnian legendary lords, I think that the Fey Enchantress has got all the tools at her disposal to deal with this kind of thing. For one thing, she's incredibly powerful. In my opinion, she is the most powerful out of the Bretonnian legendary lords, but of course, she's the only spellcaster, and naturally I'm always going to think that spellcasters are particularly powerful. She's obviously not going to win a duel against Luin Leal'Kur, but she will usually outkill him in terms of how many kills she can get in a battle, because she's a spellcaster, and even if she's not casting spells, she is a Mortis engine. As long as you put her in melee fight with a bunch of garbage infantry and a blob, she can get hundreds of kills very easily. She's also one of the best life spellcasters in the game, second only to pretty much Ariel. She's very, very powerful, very cheap spellcasting for life magic. And her starting army is pretty damn decent. You start off with Grail Guardians and Blessed Field Trebuchets. You're going to have to try your best to hold on to them. Typically speaking, you want to get rid of the Peasant Mob, the Spearmen at Arms, and the Men at Arms as quickly as possible, and replace them either with Battle Pilgrims or more archers, because these are way more reliable. These ones here have a reasonable amount of leadership, so they'll actually hold the line. These guys here, they're just absolute trash. Just get rid of them as soon as you're possible. They're just wasting up a peasant economy. But, you know, don't disband them on turn 1. You need them until you've got further replacements. In terms of confederating other legendary lords, the Fey Enchantress is in a good position. She can confederate Lu and Leoncoeur very easily, so uniting all the Bretonnia is not a problem. But if you want to get Alberic and Repart, you have to diplomatically meet them and do it the old-fashioned way with a confederation offer, which can sometimes be frustrating. But overall, this is actually my favorite of the Bretonnian campaigns, because I like to have an initial challenge, otherwise I get bored very quickly, and I think she's got all the tools that she needs at her disposal. In addition to that, her faction mechanic, Casualty Replenishment Rate plus 15%, is probably one of the most useful things for the Bretonnians, because even though the damsels can now increase replenishment rate, which is very good, having that additional 15% on top of that is very good, because Bretonnia is a faction that is just going to take casualties after every battle. And previously in Warhammer 2, when they couldn't replenish very quickly, especially in orange and red territory, only the Fey Enchantress was really able to handle those sort of situations, so she's very good. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Fey Enchantress, whether you agree or disagree with my assessment here. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys.